This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A Hobart City Council meeting made national headlines today, reigniting discussion over whether Australia Day should be celebrated. Members of the Indigenous community have backed the Council's move to lobby the federal government over changing the date.
Tasmania's leading the charge in a national conversation following a Hobart City Council meeting last night. It will lobby the federal government to change Australia Day celebrations from January 26th on the back of continued concerns that parts of the community don't support the current date.
It's not a national day of celebration because there's also the Aboriginal community who see this as a day of mourning. So this was a really important step, I think, maybe a first step perhaps for our council to improve the reconciliation and be part of that reconciliation.
Alderman Helen Burnett put forward a motion at the council's meeting to make Australia Day ceremonies more culturally inclusive. During the meeting, an amendment was added and was voted unanimously that the conversation should be taken nationally.
A more robust motion in relating to how we might move on and address this issue with our federal counterparts.
The move is welcomed by Aboriginal activists who say it's the next step in fostering an inclusive Australian society.
It's about time for us to share history and culture together and to be able to go forward holding hands, not a wall between the 26th.
But the state government isn't open to the discussion, saying it already supports the Aboriginal community.
We understand that people have different views on this, but the point here is that this is a long-standing and national day, and we support it on the 26th of January.
I think people hold their head high here and say that this is a state that does make change.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Shane Broad has maintained Labor's presence in the northwest seat of Braddon. The recount following Brian Green's resignation saw Mr Broad take 60% of the vote. The agricultural scientist will be sworn in tomorrow. But we might not have seen the last of his rival, Brenton Best. He's signalling a return at the next state election, riding a wave of discontent with the major parties.
I think the community wants more authenticity with the people that represent them. They want people to be able to say what needs to be said without having to be hamstrung.
If he decides to run, Mr Best says he will nominate as an independent while retaining Labor values. Mr Broad will be sworn in tomorrow. Another fiery debate in Parliament today with the new opposition leader hounding the Premier over the state of the health system. Ms White says the hospitals are in crisis, but the government says it's doing all it can to fix what they inherited.
It was the first day of question time for Rebecca White, the new leader of the opposition.
Wish her the best in that role, long may she serve in it. The fifth I have faced, in fact, in the last 3 years.
But Ms White didn't show any first day jitters, relentlessly questioning the government over the current state of the health system.
Premier, when are you going to take control of the hospitals in crisis under this minister's watch, fix the crisis and deliver better outcomes for all Tasmanians?
All questions were directed to the Premier rather than the Minister in charge, a move giving the government ammunition on its new opponent. Michael Ferguson again taking the opportunity to place all the blame on the state of the system on the previous governments and saying that 50 beds have been opened across the state under his watch.
This is Labor politicking on health, no interest in patients, no interest in supporting the very big and ambitious reforms that we've tackled because we inherited a broken health system.
Both opposition parties say the government is dancing around the issue and statewide it's a system in crisis.
It really is time for the Liberals in government to take responsibility. It's time for the Minister for Health to recognise that he overpromised. He told us he'd fix the health system and he is under-delivering.
There's no doubt there's a crisis at the moment in our health system. We're hearing that daily now from doctors and nurses who are working on the front line. We need to hold this government to account.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
3 people were taken to hospital following a multi-vehicle crash on the Tasman highway this afternoon. 3 vehicles, a motorbike and a van, were involved in the collision. The section of road at Runnymede closed for several hours. 1 person is in a critical condition, the woman believed to be visiting from Western Australia.
Now, the passenger in the Kia, we believe, had a pre-existing injury. There were some crutches in the back of the car. So she's been laying across the rear seat, and at this stage it appears she's been unrestrained. Now, as a result of the crash, she has received critical injuries and has been transported to the Royal Hobart Hospital.
Crash investigators attended the scene. The investigation is ongoing. Launceston's CIB is investigating a video that appeared online alleging a northern Tasmanian man is a pedophile. The video, filmed by Coffs Harbour pedo hunter, which has since been taken down, sees the Tasmanian man accused of attempting to pick up a 14-year-old boy for sex. The man denies the claim throughout the confrontation. Tasmania Police says it is making preliminary inquiries as a result of the video. Anyone with information should contact Crime Stoppers. A Western Junction printing company is still yet to enter a plea to a workplace safety charge. Woolston Printing is accused of failing to comply with its health and safety duty after a 43-year-old Launceston man sustained fatal injuries on site in November 2014. The company was expected to enter a plea in court today, but its legal team applied for an adjournment. The matter will now return to court on the 1st of June. A 32-year-old Gagebrook man has pleaded not guilty to torching a police car earlier this year. Levi Dobson appeared in the Hobart Magistrates Court, charged with unlawfully setting fire to property on January 3. He's now being committed to trial and will appear in the Supreme Court on the 13th of June. Tasmanian greyhound trainer Rodney Bragg has been disqualified for 12 months after Office of Racing Integrity stewards found him guilty of using a banned substance on his dogs. An inquiry had been set up following a pre-urine sample taken from Bragg's greyhound Madam Ann at the Launceston Greyhound Racing Club meeting on May 30 last year. The stewards also found Mr Bragg, who resides in Ross, had used prohibited substances on 3 other greyhounds in his care. Mr Bragg was previously disqualified for 10 years in 2000 after the ICAC inquiry into greyhound racing. An historic gem in the heart of Launceston is about to get a $3 million extension. The City Council late yesterday approving an application to redevelop Macquarie House. But the news comes as the council's general manager announces he's walking away.
He's been the boss of the Launceston City Council for 7 years, but Robert Dobrinsky is now stepping down. The council's general manager will retire at the end of June to spend more time with his family.
It's disappointing in a way because he's been an absolutely tremendous employee of the Launceston City Council. He's been absolutely fantastic in initiating projects and he thinks very strategically.
Mr Dobrinsky has helped secure state and federal funding for many significant developments, including the Launceston City Heart project and the University of Tasmania's proposed relocation. But as he finishes up, the council will soon advertise to fill his role.
That's going to be big shoes to fill, but it's something that we'll be aiming for.
Another key project Mr Dobrinsky has been involved in is the redevelopment of Macquarie House. Late yesterday, council aldermen approved a development for the site, with work to begin as soon as possible. The federal government has committed $3 million to the project, which will see this 1830s heritage-listed building extended and turned into a modern technology and innovation hub.
You might remember or know that it's, back in the 1830s when it was actually built by Henry Reed, that it's had a lot to do with warehousing and warehousing stock that we sent over to Melbourne in the original days. So hopefully from this we'll have new ideas which will come from here and go worldwide as well.
The project will go out for tender in the next few months. Meanwhile, the Devonport City Council is looking for a hotel developer to build on the corner of Rook and Best Streets as part of its Living City project. The expressions of interest process is now open and closes at the end of June. Monika Dadson at Southern Cross News.
With the Masters Games in Burnie fast approaching, a new training program for volunteers is being rolled out. A big focus is on encouraging helpers to become personal hosts, just like volunteers did in Sydney for the 2000 Olympics.
With Burnie about to become sports central for the Masters Games, a new partnership is making sure we have enough boots on the ground to cope.
We're keen to have sort of volunteers who are brand ambassadors, people who meet and greet the visitors, meet and greet the tourists.
In a first-time partnership between the Masters Games and UTAS, a two-part program will make sure volunteers are prepared. Step 1 is an online course to learn about the sports on offer and the history of the Masters Games. Face-to-face sessions will then fill in the gaps.
This is our first foray into a short course in volunteering. We can see a lot of opportunities for this to be translated to other partnerships that we have.
Around 6,000 people will be here for the event in October, requiring around 1,000 locals to help.
We want to make sure that they want to come back and they're much better off for the experience.
So when it comes to showing off the coast, gold medal hospitality is the name of the game.
I used to be in the accommodation industry, and the idea of having thousands of people running around, it would have a lot of appeal for those running motels, hotels, caravan parks.
We want to replicate really the excitement around the Sydney Olympics way back in 2000 when the whole community and the whole New South Wales and the whole country came alive, and the volunteer program was one of the, jewels in the crown.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Residents at Eggs and Bacon Bay in the state's south will have improved phone coverage with a new 4G Telstra tower being activated today. It's the first of 14 base stations in Tasmania to switch on under the federal government's mobile black spot program. Landowners say coverage in the area has previously been patchy.
Someone might ring you and you'd half answer the call and it'd drop out, or it wasn't really good at all.
I've been talking to locals recently, SES, and it's a boon for a range of matters, including safety and security, as well as economic development.
Nearly 600 towers are being built nationally under the program. An Australian fur seal went rogue in the Launceston suburb of Newstead early this morning. Wildlife rangers sealed off the area, but the gentle giant tried fruitlessly to outrun authorities. After a 2-hour standoff, rangers managed to sedate the seal. But the job wasn't done there. Bystanders were called on to heave the 180-kilogram mammal out of the estuary and away for medical checks.
Make sure it recovers well out of that, and then we'll release it to designated areas on the northwest coast.
The job could have been much harder though. The heaviest fur seals weigh more than 300 kilograms. A new app designed to save motorists money at the Bowser has been launched in Hobart. Gasbody uses crowdsourced data to point motorists in the direction of the cheapest fuel in town. Nick Mueller says the app is designed to keep retailers honest.
The aim of Gasbody is to arm the consumer with price, location and brand. And by giving the consumer that information, we give them the choice to find the best value for them.
The Gasbody app is free and available from today. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has closed lower as investors cautiously wait for US President Donald Trump's meeting with China's president. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 16.1 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 75.66 US cents and 70.98 euro cents.
Tasmania's under-19 cricketers will walk away from their clash with a Sri Lankan under-19 team a little more learned. The 3-day game wrapped up today, both sides getting a taste of what the big time takes. The final day of Sri Lanka's warm-up game against our Tasmanian under-19s. There was some sharp cricket played by both sides. The boundary was found while wickets tumbled in an entertaining battle between bat and ball. But the result was irrelevant. The 3-day clash all about learning and experiencing new things.
One experience that we've really enjoyed the last couple of days has been a guy that's bowled right and left hand in the same game, which has been a tremendous and fantastic experience for the boys.
The match also a chance for the locals to put their name forward for higher honours. Mac Wright certainly did that, the all-rounder making an unbeaten century yesterday. His name surely on the radar of Tigers selectors.
Just train
as hard as I can and really force my case and get a few games at the first class level would be really good.
An up-and-coming spinner, Wright picking up some pointers from the Sri Lankans, who are world-renowned for their ability to spin the ball.
They have a different style of bowling to spinners here, so it's a different experience, and it's good to face some of that stuff.
Sri Lanka will play 6 games against the Australian under-19s at the Twin Ovals starting Sunday. The Northwest Thunder has been dealt a major blow, losing one of their US imports after just 3 games. Akeem Richmond will return home to the United States, citing an illness in the family as the reason. The decision on a replacement player is yet to be made. The Thunder play the Melbourne Tigers in Ulverston this Saturday night.
Good evening. Hobart 20 today. Launceston recorded 21, Burnie and Devonport 19, Friendly Beaches, Bushy Park and the Bass Strait Islands all on that high of 21 as well. Lyre-Weenie the low with -2. Cressy, Campania and Strawn 20, Lowhead, Wynyard and St Helens 19. Lyre-Weenie warmed up to 14 this afternoon. Southeasterly winds has the patchy cloud still sticking to the east coast of the nation. The remnants of the cyclone over the northern Tasman Sea. A middle level cloud band stretches off that towards New Zealand. Low-level cloud developed over most areas of Tasmania during the day today. Tomorrow the high moves over the Tasman, ridging up the east coast and through the Bight. Another cold front south of WA and troughs over that state as well. Winds northeast, northwesterly at 10 to 15 knots, tending northwesterly and strengthening to 15 to 20 knots in the southwest and central east. Partly cloudy day tomorrow. Hobart 22, 22 for Geeveston, 21 for Bothwell. Launceston, possible morning shower, 22 the maximum, 20 for Devonport. Early fog for Cressy, 21 the high. Burnie, a possible morning shower as well, top of 20, 22 for Strawn and Curry, while for St Helens, partly cloudy and 21, 22 the top for Swansea, 21 for Orford. On Thursday, fine and mostly sunny, some cloud building up over the west later. Fine and sunny on Friday with fresh nor'westerlies and showers back for the weekend, more likely over the north and west on Saturday. Sunny for Perth, Adelaide and Melbourne tomorrow, a shower or 2 for Sydney and Brisbane, and a sunny 31 forecast for Alice Springs. Mostly clear and 14 in Hobart, 16 in Launceston and right now in Devonport 15 degrees. Don't like the idea of that rain for the weekend, Joe. There's too much on. Enduro World Series at Derby, we've got the supercars at Symmons Plains and of course GWS are down here to play North Melbourne, so it's too much for rain.
Well, you'll be right, you're in a corporate box. Thank you, Murph. Bleeding heart, bleeding heart. Before we leave you tonight, a young Tasmanian boy who lost his sentimental LA Kings hat last month will soon receive a very special gift. The US-based ice hockey team preparing a package of goodies for 3-year-old Braxton Payton. The team posting on social media, "We might not be able to get you your hat back, but at least this will help." Braxton was given his hat by his dad, who tragically passed away last year. The little boy then misplaced it while travelling from Sydney to Launceston. We hope you enjoy that, Braxton. Well, that's all from the news team for now. Thanks so much for your company. See you throughout the evening. Bye-bye.